Oh, hi everyone. Sorry, that's such a weird intro, but I had to do it. So today is the day. Echoes of the Past is now out and available to most of the world as far as I'm aware, hopefully. Fingers crossed. Oh my god, this is nerve-wracking. But Echoes of the Past is now available, so whether you're a Kindle user, have Apple Books, Kobo, Barnes and Nobles, all that sort of stuff, the ebook is now available for you all to purchase. The link will be in the description box, so be sure to head down there if you haven't already. But as a special gift, as someone who doesn't have most of the funds to be able to do anything that will be able to make this book accessible for everyone, I have been able to get some of the book transcribed into an audiobook with a brilliant friend of mine, Erica Ito, doing the audiobook narration. It's only a couple of chapters, but hopefully this will give you a taste of what to expect of Echoes of the Past. And to Erica, thank you so much for doing this for me. I really do appreciate it. And for everyone who's going to read Echoes of the Past, I hope you enjoy.
Echoes of the Past, written by Francesca McMahon, read by Erica Ito. Dedicated to my very own pack who have stayed by my side since the beginning. Rosh and Tebs, I will always be grateful. Chapter 1. Alone. Echo didn't regret much. He'd not lived enough to have regrets that haunted him. Until now, that was. He thought when he left his pack at the start of the hunting season, he wouldn't have to struggle to find food. He'd been one of the strongest runners of the pack. It should have been simple enough. Unfortunately for him, he hadn't fully considered the fact that now, as a lone wolf, he had no territory of his own that he could hunt in without facing retaliation. Stories of the lone wolf were often spoken in packs, with a level of awe that would make any youngling excited for the day they struck off alone to find their own home. Just like most stories, it seemed, the elders of his pack had left out some very important details. Licking his most recent wound, a bite to his back leg, Echo recuperated by the mountainside. It wasn't the most comfortable location, the cliff face having collapsed multiple times, leaving sharp gravel dotted across the ground, and the nearest woods abandoned, barring the few bird nests in the high trees, too high for Echo to reach and steal an egg or two from. The only benefit of the mountainside was that no pack ruled this land. Here he could rest comfortably without worrying he'd be set upon by a rival wolf. Adding to that was the fact that, with the shadows of the woods and the mountain, his black fur allowed him to blend in. For now, he'd be able to keep himself out of sight. Echo was good at that. It was part of why he left his first pack, the one he was born into. He had always been the quiet one, easily able to fade into the background. Though it made him an expert hunter, his prey falling into his trap before they even realized what was happening, it didn't help him socialize and work with the family as well as they expected him to. Echo enjoyed being the silent support, but his pack had not appreciated his skill set, so he struck out on his own to find one that would. Now, though, after being without a pack for nearly a whole moon cycle, he was beginning to realize how difficult finding a new home was. Moreover, without a pack, he'd been struggling to hunt. He'd been without food now longer than he'd been without his family. As if to remind him, his stomach twinged, making him wince. Echo had gone without meals before when the cold seasons were at their peak, but this was just too much. He wasn't sure how much longer he could go. Should I risk trespassing in Nikita's territory? Echo thought, staring out into the distance, searching for the fallen tree to mark the border of their land. It wasn't hard to spot. Nikita's territory was a force to be reckoned with a den made of a fallen tree, protected by a grove of tightly grown trees and sharp-edged bushes. It was no wonder it was a prime location for pup-rearing and hunting deer and caribou. Would it be worth straying into the outskirts of their land? Then he remembered Nikita's youngest, a white-as-the-moon furred she-wolf who'd helped chase him the first time he traveled into their territory by accident, while with his old pack. Maybe not, he decided. No reason to get on the wrong end of that wolf's teeth. Echo sighed and lowered his head to his paws. It would be a waste to put himself at risk for a meal he may not even get. He would just have to find another part of the forest to hunt in, and maybe, if he was lucky, he'd find a pack that would take him in soon after. It was just as he was about to rest that he heard it. The heartbeat of a predator. A fox, to be exact. Echo opened his eyes and sought the enemy. Wolves and foxes were born rivals, and though Echo was starving, he had enough energy in him to kill the red-furred demon if needed. What surprised Echo was that instead of seeing the fox in the main valley with him, he watched as the creature slipped out from within the trees between the two mountains ahead of him. But that wasn't the only thing that caught Echo's attention. No, what drew his eye and his nose was the scent of a fresh kill. Being dragged out from the trees by the fox was a small, limp carcass, and from the look of its bloodied body, it was ready to be feasted upon. Echo stood and, blending into the surrounding shadows, quietly stalked towards the kill. He'd never seen a creature like that before. Even at a distance, he could make out the strange, tight, curled fur of the black-headed creature, though most of it was now matted with blood. The beast was small, smaller than the fox, in fact. Echo wondered if maybe it was the young of whatever creature it was born from. Echo was close enough now to see the beads of the fox's yellow eyes as they locked onto him in the shadows. "This is mine, wolf," the fox snarled, stepping in front of its meal. She would have looked ferocious and brave if her pounding heart didn't give away the fear she was feeling. Foxes weren't ones for confrontation. They were scavengers at heart. Thankfully for her, Echo wasn't either. But she didn't need to know that. Smiling to show off his teeth, Echo stepped forward. "I believe you are mistaken, Fox." He stepped closer still, thanking his luck as his rival stepped backwards, preparing to run. "You are giving me this creature." Jumping forward, Echo snapped his jaws at the fox, who, as he expected, yelped in panic and turned tail and ran into the protection of the bushes. Echo held back a sigh of relief, just in case the fox was still in ear's reach, and turned to the kill. Before he could even question what it was, his stomach clenched in desperate pain, and Echo dove in to eat. The prey was like nothing he'd ever tasted. As the blood and muscle slipped down his throat and coated his maw, Echo tried to place a comparison but found none. Caribou was fattier in its taste, while deer was stringy and flavorsome. But this? It was tough yet smooth when pulled apart, the white curly fur sticking to his teeth as he tore off muscle. The blood that dribbled down Echo's throat was warm and intense in its flavor. Echo couldn't stop himself from tearing more and more pieces of meat from the beast's flesh, savoring every bite of it. Where in the forest did this creature come from? It was only after Echo had eaten his fill that he remembered where the fox had come from. Turning to his right, he stared into the empty grove of trees where no creature lived or slept. Then, in the distance, just barely visible, Echo saw a light. It wasn't the light of the moon or the sun. No, this light felt wrong somehow. Yet it proved one important thing to Echo. There was a world beyond the forest. A land ripe for hunting. Chapter 2. A New World. Echo didn't go straight away. He wasn't stupid enough to explore an unknown world without scouting it first. This wasn't his first hunting trip. To start, he kept to the shadows of the trees, examining the land from a distance. After only a short while of watching, he could tell that this was a strange place indeed. Close to him, Echo could make out the white curly-furred beasts he had eaten. They were surrounded by a protective shield circling around them. That confused Echo until he saw the oddly shaped dens that irregularly had figures entering and leaving them. Looking at the shield around his prey, Echo could only assume that the white-furred animals belonged to whomever ruled this foreign land. For 3 suns, Echo watched and tracked the movements of these figures. He noticed that his prey were left alone in this shielded space. They were only visited by figures once a day, if that. Once, one of the white beasts was taken by their masters. It was never returned after that, though Echo couldn't tell what they did on those visits. On the night of the 4th sun, using the cover of darkness to his advantage, Echo made his move into the land. He could only be caught if these strange creatures had eyesight as good as him, and spotted his golden eyes in the night. And from how often he'd seen them walk into one another, he doubted they did. He took his time, erring on the side of caution above anything else. He was on his own in this land. There was no point taking unnecessary risks where there was no one to help him. Making a wide arc around the shield, he caught a glimpse of something shining on the shield. Coming closer, he spotted a line of silver with sharpened points and knew to be wary. They reminded him of the prickle branches from the forest, and he had always been told to avoid those. So he did. Staying close to the cage, Echo watched the white-curled beasts as they ate the grass at their feet, barely aware of his presence. He searched the barrier for any openings that he could use to his advantage, but found none that could accommodate for his size. It was as he came closer to the strange dens of the larger beings that lived in them that Echo's nose twitched. Turning away from his target, he looked towards the land in front of him. Random snowless paths had been dug between the dens, a guide leading to each individual one. Lowering his nose to the dirt path, Echo sought the smell that gained his attention. It was late enough that the beings here were nowhere in sight, but Echo kept to the shadows anyway. Whatever they had killed was fresh, and with none of the locals in sight, the meal was free for the taking. Around the corner of one of the strange dens, Echo found it, a freshly stripped carcass of what he assumed to be one of the white-curled creatures. It was left hanging from a strange branch attached to the den. Echo looked around, anxiety making his fur stand on end. "Is this too easy?" he thought, his heartbeat picking up at the idea. But for the first time, he didn't listen to his instincts. Stepping forward, Echo reached out for the meat. His teeth were just brushing the bloodied flesh when the den's entrance was thrown wide open, engulfing him in light, almost blinding him in its intensity. There, standing in front of him with a stick in hand, was one of the beings he had only seen from a distance. Now, seeing them up close, Echo realized the mistake he had made. Here, standing in front of him, was the monster from the stories he'd been told about as a pup. He hadn't found just any land. This was the land of the humans.